Hello, my name is Dr. James A. Thorpe, MD, and I am a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist and a board-certified maternal-fetal medicine physician. I'm talking today about banning and placing a worldwide moratorium on the C19 injections. Ban the poison. Open your eyes and connect the dots. To my physician colleagues who are continuing to take their paychecks and continuing to dishonor their Hippocratic oaths, I would encourage you to wake up, do your own due diligence, and I would come out as soon as possible and do an academic metanoia. In other words, look at the avalanche of data that's coming out every single day for the last 2 years and make up your own mind. The academic crown of intellectual and moral integrity is to look at new data. And based upon the new data, admit that you're wrong and make it known. That's extremely important that you do that. You physicians that are pushing the vaccine, I'd be very careful about watching what's going on around the world. We now have multiple countries whose governments have looked at the data and have banned the use of the C19 injections in certain segments of their population. And guess who they're blaming? Yep, you got it right. They're blaming you, the physicians. And the same thing will happen here in the United States of America. The CDC and the FDA and the huge, massive bribe from the federal government, HHS, and the COVID Coalition Corps, CCC, has poured tens of billions of dollars into pushing their fake, unscientific narrative. You know that there's a fake, unscientific narrative when they threaten collegial discussions like we're having right now. When every physician and nurse in the United States of America are put under a gag order, that is the antithesis of science. Sir Karl Popper, the famous philosopher and researcher from the United Kingdom last century, states the following: science does not progress without academic discussion in a collegial manner which observes those in the minority viewpoints. Sir Karl Popper went on to say, science advances by refutation and by falsification. I, Dr. James Thorpe, have refuted, I have falsified with clear data the scientific narrative. It's incumbent upon you, CDC, FDA, the American boards, physicians, to engage in a dialogue with me and try to falsify my data. You won't do that, and you cannot do that because the data is so massive. Now, let me pose this simple question. You physicians who are pushing this C19 injection, where's your safety data? And where is your honest, true, informed consent? You are not giving patients honest and true informed consent. If you are, you're lying to them because you have not been given the contents of the vaccine. So it's impossible for you to give your patient informed consent. Number one. Number two, you cannot give honest, informed consent because the CDC and the FDA have admitted that they're withholding data and they're not being transparent with the data. For those two reasons, you have given nobody informed consent. And ultimately, the American people will come after you, because if you push the vaccine and they died or they have a complication, you will be held liable in a civil court or maybe even in a criminal court, because you are responsible for pushing a lethal drug on a patient. And you are telling her to do that or him to do that. And you cannot give informed consent. So you have breached the Nuremberg Code, which demands the most important component and element of the Nuremberg Code is informed consent. You have not given informed consent to anybody. And the government will come back and point their fingers at you, physicians. The US government will, mark my words, just like other countries are doing, because ultimately